Welcome to Earth 2, where supers exist and TV talk is the norm. I'm your host, MoeCrosby. Today I'm going to be reviewing episode 2 of American Gods. So sit back, relax, and as always,
welcome to the planet.
Now, this episode is aptly titled The Secret of Spoons. Funny, right? Because there is not one spoon in this episode. There's not a single spoon in this episode. Matter of fact, I don't even understand why it's called The Secret of Spoons, but you know what? Forget it. That's not what we're here to talk about. We're here to talk about the show itself. Now let's get into it. This episode opens similar fashion to episode 1, where instead of Vikings, we get Africans on a slave ship on their way to America, and one of the slaves on the ship decides to pray to a god, Anansi, and this prayer is done in the most beautiful Igbo dialect I've ever heard. So this is like something where I got to give props to the show's director and the show's writer, and the creative minds behind the show for like using a very, very good Igbo dialect and using an actor who didn't just learn the lines, but also knew how to speak the language and use the exact dialect and the exact accent to make it believable. So props up to the showrunners for that. So when he's done praying, or before he's done praying, we see a huge spider, and then when he's done praying, Mr. Nancy comes into the ship, and Mr. Nancy's like, look, these people that you're asking me to help you to whatever you need help for, they're going to mess around with you. They're going to mess around with your families. They're going to mess around with your future family. So right now you're already messed up. 100 years from now, you're even more messed up. 100 years after that, you're still going to be messed up. So what help can I possibly do to give you than for me to break these chains off you and you crush them right now on this ship and take this ship down, die standing on your feet as opposed to on your knees. Very significant scene, very powerful scene, because to me it means that while because Anansi technically is Mr. Nancy, Orlando Brown did a very good job playing Mr. Nancy and playing Anansi in this episode. So to me, what it means is you're praying to this god to help you out of your predicament, but instead of him helping you, instead of him giving you the help you want, he decides to help himself by stealing your rage and to empower himself. Because at the end of the day, when the ship is down and everything is burnt, you see that same spider you saw in the beginning of the scene and in the middle of the scene appear on the shore. So at the end of the day, Mr. Nancy got something what he wanted. You technically didn't. So now Mr. Nancy is in America, and that's how I believe. That's how I want to believe that this particular old god came to the United States, or came to be in America. Now we get to move into the show. It literally picks up from where it ended last week with Shadow getting lynched by Technical Boy's children, or goons, as so he calls them. We don't see who rescues him. We still don't see that. Physically and clearly upset, so he walks out and goes back to the motel, and he sees he knocks on Mr. Wednesday's door, like, what did you do? Who did you talk to? Who's out there trying to get me? What have I done? Can you tell me what I need to do, or what I need to know, so this doesn't happen again? Mr. Wednesday still almost in shock, like, I don't know what happened to you. I didn't do anything to you. Who did this? And he tells him, Technical Boy. And he's like, you know what? I don't want to work for you anymore, Mr. Wednesday. I'm done. Wednesday's like, we have a contract, so you can't just walk out on it. Obviously, Shadow turns around and walks to his room upset. Wednesday stops him, saying, just because I'm not physically disturbed or right now doesn't mean I'm not upset and I don't have a plan. So I do have a plan. Get what you need to get from this city, because we're done, and we move. We get a couple more shots of Laura talking to Shadow while he's sleeping, or before he sleeps. So it's like Shadow's starting to see things now, but he's not. I think Shadow, to me, is still not believing or understanding what he's involved in or where he is. So he sees Laura, talks to Laura for a second. Laura moves out. Laura moves on, and there's a box, evidence box, and he picks it up. He opens it. He looks inside of it, and he sees her phone. Guys, don't ever go through your lady's phone. If you've been in jail for 3 years and you come out, don't make that mistake. Don't go through your lady's phone, because you will not like what you see. Because Shadow didn't like what he saw. He saw a pic from his best friend on his wife's phone. You can just use your imagination and see what that is. So no, I wouldn't do that, and I wouldn't suggest you do, any one of my friends do that. So if you're watching as a guy, don't look at your girl's phone, especially if you go away for some time. Wednesday's like, look, I know you're supposed to feel a way about this, but let me tell you, word in the street is your wife died with your homies. Yes. So I wouldn't, I wish I could say it, but if you, as a matter of fact, listen to the podcast so you can hear unfiltered Mo's breakdown of this episode, for real, because you're going to get more of this on the podcast anyways. I'm going to try to rush through it without spoiling anything. So yes, I'll try to do that for you. And we get into another world, and in this other world, we get to see my girl, I'm pretty sure it's your girl too, Bilquis, and she's doing her thing, snatching souls. Like, she's a soul snatcher in this episode, because she goes through at least 5 bodies, and it's not just men that she's snatching in this episode. She's snatching everybody, y'all. And so this is what, like, I love it. I love her. So I want to see more of her. As long as I see more of her, I'm happy with it. She goes to a museum, and I believe it's somewhere where somebody finds some of her old adornments from a time before our time. And so she sees it, and she's imagining certain things. Cut now back to Shadow and Wednesday. Shadow and Wednesday are now in Chicago, and they're they meet up with Zariah. I'm not even going to try her last name, because there are 3 Zariahs. There's the older Zariah, and then there's the 2 little sister Zariahs. We only get to meet 2 of the Zariahs in this episode, the older Zariah and I believe the middle sister. The youngest sister was sleeping, so that's what they said. Zariah's akin to Chernabog. I think I got his name right this time. So Chernabog and the Zariahs are all kin. Chernabog is still at work at the meat farm. No, we don't get to see him yet. So Zariah invites Wednesday and Shadow in, and she's like, you know what, I'm gonna invite you to dinner. He's not gonna want to see you. He's upset from like probably the last time you were here, or probably the last time he saw you. I just don't think it's gonna be great, or it's gonna be a good thing for him to see you. I just think you need to chill or whatever. Wednesday's like, look, I need him. I need to talk to him. So whatever it's going to take, I'll wait till he gets here anyway. So I'll see him. Chernabog comes in. Chernabog is like, why is he here? Why is this guy in my house? What is he doing here? I don't talk to him. I don't mess with you at all, bro. Like, what are you doing? Wednesday's like, I need you. We need to talk. So Shadow excuses them into the kitchen to go help, talk to the ladies. They read his fortune. They see some bad omens, but they kind of, the older Zariah tries to lie to him. And obviously Shadow is a con man in his own right, and he knows when someone is lying to him. So he tells he's like, so is that really, so it's bad news? Like, are you kidding me? Like, is there any good news? And the older Zariah says to him, yeah, your mother died from cancer. He's like, yeah, you're not going to die from cancer. And Shadow, like, again, Shadow is still, you will see it in a lot in this episode when you watch it, that Shadow is still not believing whatever is going on in his life right now is real. Chernabog has this very, very weird conversation with Shadow. Again, Shadow's taking all of this in, not really saying anything. And then Chernabog says, do you play checkers? Shadow's like, I was locked up for 3 years. What else do you think I was doing? They get into a game. And so in the middle of the game, Chernabog says to Shadow, let's make a wager. If I lose, I go with you Wednesday. If you lose, I get to break your head open with my meat hammer. And then he goes to his fireplace, grabs the hammer, and starts to talk about this hammer, like almost as if he's in love with the hammer. As he's talking about the hammer, it starts to drip with blood. This hammer is dripping like, oh, sunrise blood is the best blood, and that's also leads to it being the best meat. Like, if you need anything, this is the best time for you to do XYZ. And Shadow is again taking all of this in. This is where I say Shadow was listening but not listening, because he says to Chernabog, like, if all of this is real, if TV people are talking to me, if I'm seeing my dead wife, if your sister can read your kin can read palms and all this good stuff, then I'm just gonna take this bet. Then let's go, let's play. Wednesday says to him, are you sure you want to do this? He's like, yeah, sure, why not? And so they get into the game. Chenobog is golden, now he's in the head of Shadow and he wins. As soon as he wins the game, he says to Shadow, so tomorrow at sunrise, I get to break your head. That's my accent. That's my Slavic accent. I'm sorry, that was kind of horrible, but yeah. Tomorrow at sunrise, I get to break your head. Again, Shadow has the stuck face on it. Ricky Whittle does a great job of letting us know Shadow's emotions, especially that stuck face. That stuck face is beautiful. So it's like, and that's where the episode ends. I missed it. I missed talking about something earlier. When Shadow is running some errands for Mr. Wednesday, he goes into a store and someone from the TV land starts talking to him. Lucy, who is the media god, who's represented as Lucy, starts to talk to him like, look, I heard what happened between you and the technical boy. I thought you handled it well. You need to come work for me. I'm not gonna, whatever you've been promised by the old guys, I would give you more. Like, what do you want? Like, I control media. That's how I get my worship. And you can tell, especially the fact that people have been, like, human beings right now have been glued to their TV sets since since TVs became a thing, that we've been glued to media. Movies will come out and there would be people going in droves and droves and droves to go worship the movies, worship movie stars and all of this. So we worship our media. We, you sit down during the election, we had coverage upon coverage upon coverage of the election. Every news media outlet made, whether it was social media, whether it was TV, whether it was on your phone or your laptop, everyone was glued to it. She even makes a statement where she says, you can be with someone in the same room, or you can be with her and ignore her while you're watching me, also watching me on your palm on your laptop. So you can tell that she is powerful at this point. Media is very powerful. So I can understand her being a really powerful god. And this is I believe that's the only new god we meet in this episode. Everyone else is old god. I do love the episode. I love it. I think it was a powerful second episode in the rights of, we get to see now how these old gods were so shitty that people stopped worshiping them and people stopped giving to them. Like, it's like these guys weren't great. Like, they were never great. Like, they all they wanted was power. They were never great. Even the new gods don't really give you anything, but with the wave, with technology growing and media growing, that's the new worship. So I'm pretty sure at some point moving further into the future, something else is going to take over and some other gods are going to come out from that. But right now, this is the world we're in. And so I'm enjoying the show and I'm enjoying the setup. This episode, again, episode 1 felt like an episode on its own. Episode 2 feels more like the setup to the season. So I'm very excited for that. I'm also looking forward to see what the rest of the season has to offer. This was a strong episode. I'm not going to say it was as strong as episode 1, but I will still give this episode a 9 out of 10. I liked it, and the more Yetide we get, the happier I am. So if the show continues and we get more clips of Bill Queese and Yetide, I'm fine with that. I'll continue to grade this as an 9. Check out our Twitter, Earth2 Comicast. That's with the number 2. Instagram and Facebook, but I will be live tweeting each episode, so come back every Sunday at 9 o'clock when this starts, and I will be live tweeting everything. And you can just go ahead and, if you don't want to watch this, you can watch my tweets and learn more about the show. Everyone is going to be live tweeting this. This was a big thing on Sunday when it debuted. It's your boy MoeCrosby. This has been another Earth 2 American Gods episode review. Peace.